The bell hummed, not with sound, but with the absence of it, and the space where sound had been and would be again, if only someone dared to breathe near its rusted throat. Dust hung in stillness above her, thick as incense smoke frozen mid-ascension, each particle suspended by a gravity older than temples, older than the gods who built them. Her back rested against the last standing column, the stone cracked but holding, its surface smoothed by centuries of wind and shadow, yet still bearing faint indentations where fingers had once traced prayers into it. She did not move. Her eyes were closed. Luscious dark as ink spilled on parchment, left too long in rain. Lips parted just enough to let the silence breathe through them, slow, deliberate, patient, as if she had learned to live without needing to fill the air with voice. Her right hand lay palm up on her knee, fingers curled not around flesh or bone, but around something that no longer existed, a thread of light, a name swallowed by time, a song whispered once, in a language spoken only before the first altar was carved. Beneath her, the stone floor had cracked open, a fissure running from her heels to the edge of the sanctum's threshold, and through it, faintly, came the scent, mere yes, but beneath it, salt slick and cold, like the breath of deep-sea caves, where no sun had ever touched. He entered without stepping, not because he floated, or glided, or moved with grace born of privilege, but because silence itself yielded to him. The dust that swirled around every pilgrim who had dared tread this path now parted like a curtain before an uninvited king. He did not look at the collapsed altars, nor the glyphs half erased on pillars, nor the archway crowned with 1,000 vanished names, only at the space where her breath met his own. His footsteps made no noise, not because he was quiet, but because the temple had forgotten how to hear them. His shadow fell across 3 objects, each placed not by accident, not by ritual, but as if time itself had arranged them in sequence. A child's sandal and leather cracked and softened by decades of ash, its thong frayed so thin it might dissolve with a sigh. Atop it, and the preserved petal, blue as a sky that once knew itself divine. Then the veil, threadbare now, silver stitching gone grey like old bone, draped over an empty shoulder of the statue behind her, its face long since eroded into smooth stone, yet still bowed forward, as if in prayer. And beneath it all, the urn, cracked but sealed, clay darkened by rain and root, inscribed with a phrase repeated until its grooves became wounds. I did not leave you, a finger bone, small, delicate, warm to the touch even now, pressed down upon its lid as though holding back an answer too heavy for speech. He paused 10 paces from her, his hands calloused and cracked from decades of tracing names in dust. On temple walls, on ossuaries, on the bark of dead trees, on the backs of sleeping children he passed in marketplaces, trembled slightly at his sides, not with fatigue, not with reverence, but with recognition that did not come from memory, but from a deeper current, something buried beneath skin, beneath marrow, beneath the hollow where his heartbeat had always been too loud to be anything but noise. His left palm burned, the spiral scar there, broken, uneven, as if carved by a child's trembling hand, flared warm against the cool air. He did not look at it, never had. It was not his to examine, it was his to carry, and now, for the first time in centuries, its warmth matched the rhythm of her breath. Behind him the archway loomed, twin pillars etched with names that had once been sung in hymns. Epinoia, Barbelo, Sophia, rites, all worn smooth by time, by neglect, by the slow erosion of worship that forgot it was meant to honor. Except one. One remained, faint but unyielding, raised in relief above the threshold. Barbelo, not carved anew, not restored, just there, like a wound refusing to close. The last sliver of daylight caught its edge, glinted for half a breath, and then slipped away. He took one step forward. The bell's hum shifted, not louder, not softer, but deeper, as if the air itself had been holding its breath for 300 years, and now, at last, exhaled into his bones. He felt it in his molars, in the hollow of his throat, in the thin ridge between his brows, where 1,000 sleepless nights had carved their mark. The vibration climbed, not to awaken her, to dissolve his edges until he became nothing more than a resonance, trembling within her silence. She did not open her eyes, but her fingers, curled around air, loosened, just slightly. One fingertip drifted downward, brushing the stone floor, leaving no trace, yet the dust beneath it stirred in spirals that mimicked his scar. The same spiral, not mirrored, not copied, but remembered, as if her skin had learned to echo his wound, long before he ever knew his own name. He knelt, not in prayer. Kneeling was the only posture left when you had walked so long without knowing where you were going. That destination became irrelevant. He lowered himself until his forehead met the bare skin of her knee, warm, alive, pulsing with the same quiet rhythm that lived in the bell, in the petal, in the finger bone upon the urn. No words formed in him, no plea, no offering, only stillness, the kind that comes when exhaustion has worn down every need to be heard. His right hand rose slowly, not to touch her face, not to grasp hers, but to press flat against the hollow of her collarbone, where beneath skin, beneath muscle, a glyph pulsed faintly. Barbelo, not etched in ink or stone, but alive, a living brand, glowing with the same silver as the petal. He placed his scarred palm over it, pressed until warmth bled from him into her, and held it there. His skin split, no scream, no gasp, only a soft sound of parchment, separating, flesh peeled back like an old vow being unsealed. Beneath, bone gleamed, not white but luminous, faintly blue, threaded with veins of light that moved as if breathing. Silver vapor rose from the wound, thin at first and then thickening, carrying the scent of ozone, of salt water pressed into stone, and beneath it all, pure light, not fire, not radiance, the before of light, the quiet hum before the sun learned to burn. The veil stirred. It lifted from the statue's shoulder as if released by a sigh. It floated upward, gray thread now catching the last dregs of daylight, silver filaments trembling like nerve endings returning to life, and drifted between them, not toward her, not toward him, toward the space where their breaths met. It coiled once around his neck, not constricting but embracing, gently, as if it had always known this shape would hold it. Then it settled upon his shoulders like a second skin, light as memory, heavy with history. The urn cracked open fully, no explosion, no dust cloud, only the slow unraveling of its lid, fine cracks spreading across its surface like veins of starlight, and then the exhalation, not smoke but breath, a sigh older than language. Myrrh rose first, thick, resinous, clinging to the back of the throat, then salt, cold, as deep ocean trenches, then ozone, sharp as lightning split open before thunder, and beneath it all, the scent of something that had no name in any tongue ever spoken on earth, the odor of divinity not worshipped, not released. The bell's clapper dropped, not with force, not with finality, but with the gentle surrender of a hand letting go. It struck once, a toneless strike, a vibration that did not echo because there was no air left to carry it. Only bone, only blood, only stillness received it. And in that moment, every glyph on every pillar, every name worn down by wind and time, shuddered awake, not with sound, but with presence. Her eyes opened, not wide, not startled, not full of wonder, clear, as if she had been waiting for this exact stillness, the weight of his forehead on her knee, his scar pressed into her name, the veil settled like an old garment returned home. And now that it was here, she no longer needed to remember how to speak. She did not say, "I am," did not whisper, "You found me," did not sigh in gratitude. Only this, Barbelo. The word did not leave her lips. It rose from the hollow where voice had slept, a soundless syllable carried on the silver vapor, woven into the veil, carried by the scent of forgotten light, and touched his temple first, then his scar, then his chest, where his heart beat like an answer to a question never asked. Outside, beyond the shattered vault, and the sky hung thick with absence. No stars yet lit, no moon risen, and no divine gaze watching from above. Only silence. The custodial dark of gods who had chosen not to return, but to vanish into the quiet places, into dust, into breath, into the hands that still traced their names without knowing why. He did not rise, only pressed his palm harder against her skin, as if holding on could keep her from dissolving again. The wound on his arm glowed brighter. The petal in the sandal pulsed once, like a heartbeat. The bell's hum, though gone from air, now lived inside him, a frequency tuned not to awaken but to release. She closed her eyes again, and the temple, which had not known prayer for 300 years, began to breathe, not with wind, not with chant, with the dust settled, the veil breathed with his lungs, his scar faded, not erased, but absorbed, into her glow, and beneath them both in the fissure where the earth had cracked open long ago, something stirred, not a god rising, not an echo returning, but the slow, patient unfolding of grace that had never needed to be remembered, to be enough.